it's Jules from Squamish Climate Action Network. Today on part 5, our last part of the Zero Waste Wednesday video series, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how to compost in a small space. That could be your apartment, your condo, a basement suite, or even just in your house in general. I live in a really tiny condo, so I can appreciate why people are maybe wary of this, in terms of smells and everything, but I'm going to walk you through just some information today that can help you kind of hopefully begin this process or continue with this process, because I really do think it's important. Composting, isn't fully zero waste in itself, but the cyclical bit of composting is what I love about it. We eat these foods, and if we compost them, then they are able to give back and grow our food, and it's just kind of this circle. And so it feels really nice to know that this is a really eco-friendly way of disposing of your food. There's a lot of problems with landfills when it comes to what we consume and what we eat, because a lot of people say to me, and I hear it all the time, they're like, oh, well, like food, I can throw it in the forest, or I can put it in the garbage and it's going to decompose. But one of the craziest things is that food actually doesn't decompose very well in the landfill. There's been food that has been found from the 50s, hot dogs that have been preserved because of what it's mixed with, with like plastic bags and all these things, and it preserves it in that environment. And for food to actually decompose, it needs oxygen. And so when it's in the landfill and it's not getting oxygen, it actually starts to release methane, which is 30 times more powerful than CO2. And so it's actually really important to make sure that you're composting, because it doesn't break down in the landfill. And I think for some people that's pretty shocking, but we have a really great solution, and it's really easy. And so I just think that it's wonderful to be able to kind of adopt this process and limit your waste as well, because it just doesn't do what it's meant to do in the landfill. And I think it's great to really start to think about the process of what it means of something going to the landfill. I feel like, I always tell people, if you're walking down the street or you're in the forest and it's beautiful and you finish a granola bar, you wouldn't throw that wrapper, most of us wouldn't throw that wrapper and just let it sit. But that's what a landfill really is, and we're desensitized to what that means. But just as you toss your granola bar wrapper or whatever in the forest, that's kind of the same place of what a landfill is. It's our environment, it's nature, and we've just created this space where you can't really see it. And so out of sight, out of mind. But I think really trying to get connected with what that means every time you throw out an item, thinking about that process and where it goes and how long it will be there. And so if they're finding hot dogs from the 50s in landfills, I can't imagine the paper cups or the plastic bags that take thousands, hundreds of years to decompose. So that's why I really wanted to show you just kind of some easy ways to compost and make it successful yourself, especially in a small environment. And I'll just show you really quickly of, I think it's about 60% of all of our waste in our garbage bags are compostable items. And so I've noticed a huge reduction. I'll show you. So my garbage right now, and yes, I still have some garbage for items that don't have a composting or recyclable solution right now, but this garbage that I have is from 2 months. I've had it for 2 months, and if it smells, then I just put it in the freezer for a little bit. But I'll show you. So that bag is 2 months worth of garbage, and this is actually quite a bit of garbage compared to what I usually have. It's usually a lot smaller than this, and so I'm pretty proud of that. And so I'm not perfect with my zero waste living either, but I do the best I can, and it feels good to know that I'm not going to fill this up for a while. So basically, just to start, I live in a small condo, and so my biggest worry was about smell and stuff like that. So the first tip I have for you is to keep your compost in the freezer if you have room. Some people don't. but I think it's worth it to carve out a space and to think about how you store it. So I just have this little bin. It's this size and shape work best for my freezer, but there are some actual composting bins that you can buy from like Canadian Tire or whichever, but this one just fit my freezer best, and it gave me a little bit more room, and I don't put a lid on it or anything like that. And originally I did line it with old newspaper, which is an awesome way to keep things clean and absorb like fats or oils if they kind of seep through everywhere. And anyway, so originally I did buy these bag to earth bags, but I started to think, and I was like, it's kind of weird that I'm buying a bag to just kind of be composted. Like, it has no really other use for that. And so for myself, I just really liked the idea of just keeping it simple and like, you know what, it's my responsibility. I'm gonna wash this tote when it gets really dirty. So you can see, yeah, it's covered in coffee grounds and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is my compost, kind of what I have in there so far. Composting in Squamish is great and really inclusive of a lot of items. I have some examples kind of laid out for you. So like, you know, in general, just like food scraps, so like avocado and stuff like that, that can go right into your compost as well. Chopsticks are great, and they can go right in your compost. And basically, I would just break them in half. I'm actually gonna use this one, so but yeah, you can snap them in half, break them up a little bit, and put those in there as well. This is one of my old compostable toothbrushes, and these bristles can't actually go, so you just need a pair of pliers and you pull out the bristles and you can throw the toothbrush right into. Like outdoor like plant scraps. My plant kind of lost a couple leaves here, so those things can go in as well. Coffee grounds can go right in as well. Just shake those in there. And then another item that's really great for composting is browns. So if you ever have a paper bag or anything like that from the bakery or whichever, and it's dirty and you can't get the food particles off of it, that actually can't be recycled, but it can be composted. And so the best way to do that is, I find I just rip up my bag into, you know, you don't have to go crazy, but sometimes I try to make layers of browns. So browns are referred to as, yeah, things like paper, napkins, you know, these baggies, these containers like this. And if you do kind of layers, that's really gonna help with the smell and keeping things more tidy as well. And so I don't have a pizza box, and that's really what I wanted to show you, but pizza boxes, if they have grease on them, they can't actually be recycled. So most of the time though, it's just half your pizza box that has the grease on it. So what I do is I rip it apart. The part that is fully clean goes into my recycling, and the part that has grease on it becomes another layer of browns for my compost. So I'll rip it up, and then I will put it in my compost bin. And that's the same thing with containers like these. This one actually, I think, can be recycled. There's not too much on it, and sometimes you know, you can, if it's just a little piece that's dirty, I'll rip that off and put that in the compost, and I can recycle the other bit. But these materials as well can be composted. And so in Squamish, yeah, it's great. It's really inclusive. So it's, you know, food, soiled napkins, or browns like this, you know, soiled pizza boxes. You can put in plant scraps, like some yard waste, depending on the size. You can look it up on the Squamish District website. You can put in, yeah, toothpicks or bamboo. You can put in, you know, eggshells, meat, bones, tons of different stuff. But funnily enough, the one thing you can't put in there is there's a lot of places now that have plastic cups that say they're compostable or biodegradable, and same with plastic bags. Those actually can't go in your compost. We don't have the facilities to compost those. And so even if it's, you know, a plastic thing that says biodegradable or compost, don't put those actually don't go into your compost at all, which is kind of sad because, yeah, we really just don't have the facilities yet. So beware of that. And then another thing I think that some people are pretty worried about when it comes to composting is like maggots and bugs like that. So if you ever are going through your compost and you see if you've, you know, let a couple flies in there and they've laid eggs, It's really easy. Salt, lime, or vinegar, pour it on them, and it's going to kill them. And I've never had a problem with maggots ever in my entire time of composting, and I think that's because I keep it in the freezer and it keeps the smell out. There's been no one who's walked into my place, and that's probably being nice, but no one's ever commented on it. I don't smell it when I come back home from work or anything like that. So I think that is a really great way to do it. And then, of course, in Squamish, if you live in a house and you keep it outside, like, please beware of wildlife and make sure there's locks on it as well so that animals can't get into it. But composting is so easy. It's so great. It's just a wonderful transition. And there's so many things that you can compost now. Always make sure you're looking up though with your municipality of what they accept, because there are some, varying items between municipalities that accept what, and so be cognizant of that. But yeah, it's a really great and easy way to reduce your waste in terms of what's going into the landfill. And just remembering that process of it being cyclical and, giving back to the earth, and it gives back to us in terms of the food that we make and stuff like that I think that's a really cool process. And so, those are basically my tips for you today. I really appreciate everyone who's watched these videos. They've been really fun to make, and I always love, talking about my passion, which is definitely zero waste. And so, I hope you have enjoyed them, and maybe one day I will be back with some more tips. But thank you. Go compost. Remember these tips, and watch the waste in your garbage go way down. And just be really proud of your guys' self for limiting what goes to our landfills. Thanks.